Hello, and welcome to this talk about the Conservation Evidence Partnership Programme, Evidence Champions. I'll be introducing you to the idea behind the partnership, what we currently do, and what benefits there are for your organisation from joining. Evidence Champions are organisations that have signed an agreement to use conservation evidence in their projects. This includes conservation practitioners, those who fund conservation projects, journals publishing the results of conservation interventions, those teaching about conservation, and software developers. There are many benefits to becoming an evidence champion. These include becoming part of a network of forward-thinking organisations that are creating a demand for evidence-based practice and making conservation more effective. You'll receive training in evidence-based practice and continued advice and support from the Conservation Evidence team. You also have many opportunities to meet other evidence champions, to share ideas, form collaborations, and more. So what do evidence champions actually do? Well, there's multiple options depending upon the capacity and focus of your organisation. You can sign up to do one thing or multiple things. You're also welcome to suggest other ideas of how we may collaborate. One of the main things we encourage our evidence champions to do is to include evidence in their decision making. This might be when creating a new management plan or designing a new project. It can be really complicated to include all the relevant evidence in the right decisions. So at Conservation Evidence, we've created a simple online tool to help you do this. We also provide training in evidence-based decision-making and how to use this tool. Evidence-based decision-making has been shown to make projects more effective and efficient and increase transparency. So when you review projects, you're able to see exactly where things went right or wrong. A second option for your organisation is to test and publish the results of interventions that you may be undertaking as part of your project, or to encourage you to test more interventions as part of your projects. This is really important because it helps create new information to fill evidence gaps that we have and ensure that the actions we're undertaking are the right ones. At Conservation Evidence, we'll be able to provide guidance in how and what you should be testing, guidance on the best kinds of study designs for your projects, and also advice on taking that through to publication, whether this is putting a report on your website or publishing in a scientific journal. The third category that you might be interested in signing up to is ensuring that any guidance you produce as an organisation is evidence-based. In conservation, we're heavily reliant on guidance to tell us both what to do and how to do it. However, a recent review of UK conservation guidance by the Conservation Evidence team showed that there are many problems with the majority of the guidance documents available. They are often out of date, poorly referenced, and unclear in their aims and scope. Along with a number of our current partners, we've created a set of simple standards that organisations can follow to help ensure that their guidance is based upon the best available evidence. We are able to provide these standards, good examples, and training in how to produce evidence-based guidance. For those organisations that have websites with species or habitat-specific information, we encourage you to create links from your website through to the Conservation Evidence database. For example, if you were to go onto the IUCN Red List, you'll see at the bottom of species pages that you're able to see information about the actions you could undertake for that species from the Conservation Evidence website. It's also the same on the BTO BirdFacts website. Another important category that we encourage organisations to do is sharing internal reports and documents with the wider conservation community. There's so much information out there that often goes unshared, and this can lead to evidence gaps that aren't filled, actions continuing to be undertaken that are ineffective, or good practice being lost through not being shared with the wider community. You can donate any reports that test conservation interventions to Conservation Evidence, and we'll include them on our website and in updates of synopses. You could also just ensure that any internal reports that you have are shared on your own database. And finally, for journals and funders, we have some more specific categories. Here, we ask the journals to ask authors and applicants to ensure that they review the available evidence for conservation interventions when they're submitting manuscripts or writing grant applications. This is important because it helps put their work within the wider context of the literature, ensure gaps are filled, and ensure that work isn't replicated. Thank you for listening. If you're interested in joining, you can find out more about the current partners, what you can do, and get in touch at the website addressed below.